This wild-looking machine is the Aprilia MXV450. It's a twin-cylinder Italian rocket ship that was banned from professional motocross racing in the USA. But why? Well, today we're going to ride and review one of the most aesthetically exotic dirt bikes of all time. We'll dive into the history of Aprilia and the story of this machine. We might also have a little two-stroke surprise for you as well. And of course, we'll dive into the reason why this machine was banned by the AMA. Right, so I'm going to try and start this Aprilia MXV450 first time. How that kickstart sits is quite weird actually. They've got it to fit though. Let's give it a go. Oh, how weird does that sound? That's an odd sounding motorcycle. It's funny really, because right now in 2023, this story feels more relevant than ever. Aprilia are road racing giants with a stack of Grand Prix or MotoGP world titles to their name, won by the likes of Max Biaggi, Loris Capirossi, Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo. And today we are on the verge of another road racing giant joining the motocross fraternity, with Triumph looking to enter the MXGP paddock in 2024. And with the likes of Ricky Carmichael on board in a development role, the British brand are making all the right noises at the moment. And we've also got those swirling rumours of Ducati wanting to get down and dirty in the motocross scene as well. But today we're taking a look at what happened the last time a road racing powerhouse entered the motocross world. Unlike both Triumph and Ducati, the Aprilia brand does actually have some dirt bike DNA. The company started out straight after World War II and began by manufacturing bicycles, but this soon evolved into the creation of mopeds and small capacity motocross bikes. The Aprilia Scarabeo motocross bike was unveiled in 1970 and was available as a 50 or 125cc machine. In 1977, Milanese racer Ivan Alborghetti won both the 125 and 250 Italian motocross championships for Aprilia. And in 1978, he found podium success on the Grand Prix stage, eventually finishing 6th overall at the end of the World Championship season. Despite this early success in the off-road world, Aprilia was soon enamoured by the tarmac. And as the 80s rolled into the 90s, their full attention and focus went into creating road bikes and winning world titles in that arena. At the start of the new millennium, Aprilia found themselves in financial hot water after acquiring some smaller brands such as Moto Guzzi. They were eventually bought out by Piaggio in 2004 to become part of the 4th biggest motorcycle conglomerate on earth. And this is when Aprilia's resurgence in the dirt bike world began again. Whether it was a decision to try to reconnect to the brand's dirt biking roots, or simply a spreadsheet choice made by the new accountants, is something that I personally couldn't find an answer to. So this bike in front of me here is the Aprilia MXV450, which is actually a descendant of the SXV550, which was the Supermoto model, and the RXV, which was the Enduro bike. So unlike the Cannondale that I rode a few weeks ago, this wasn't a completely new design concept, but it was developed quite a lot from the Supermoto and the Enduro bike. Aprilia did have some great success in the Supermoto world. I think they won 3 world championships with the SXV550. So this bike does have some good pedigree, and Aprilia were full of confidence as they transitioned into the world of motocross. But I think it's safe to say that this bike, this platform that Aprilia used, was a little different to the norm, and that might be an understatement.
Okay, so I'm on board the Aprilia MXV450 here at Ashdown Farm, and what a bizarre motorcycle, man. Came out in 2009. We think this is either a 2009 model or a 2010 model year bike, it's hard to work out because they was all the same. And I've definitely never ridden a bike quite like this before in my entire life.
So this right here is a 452cc V-twin 4-stroke, the only twin-cylinder dirt bike of the modern era. And as you'd expect, it sounds completely different to everything else out there. And that's mainly thanks to these twin titanium pea shooters at the back here. And the bike sounds wild because it does rev up to 12,500 RPM.
You can see those pea shooters there that give it that sound, that raspy V-twin sound. And also the airbox is in an odd place up the front there. Fuel tank's in an odd place as well.
So back in 2009, the MXV was an early adopter of electronic fuel injection and an ECU. You can see it's actually got a mapping switch here, but it was a little dated maybe for the time by only having a Kickstarter option. The Enduro bike and the Supermoto bike did have an electric starter, but that was removed for the motocross model to save some weight. So like I said, it did have two mapping options. You've got hard and soft. Well, soft is in actually, hard is out like that. Now it's said that the soft map was called the Big Bang map, and that's more mellow for tracks with less traction. And then the hard map was called the Screamer mode, and that would really rip your arms out and maybe scare you a little bit. I'm unsure if that's actually what they were called or if that's more in reference to the different engine configurations that you can have by changing the cam timing. If you do change the cam timing, I think that is what turns it into Screamer mode, and that means that at all times it's going to feel like it's in that hard map. Some other quirky features: it's got a combined steel and aluminium trellis frame. It's also got a 4-speed gearbox, and as you can see down here, there's actually no lower rails for the frame, which means that the engine is actually a stressed member of the chassis. So it's got Marzocchi forks up front, 50mm, a Sachs shock, so high quality components. The fuel tank's in a very weird position. You fill it up here, but I'm not quite sure, but I think the tank's actually in here somewhere, and the airbox is up front as well.
Weighs about 237 pounds, so it's a big heavy lump. Really. It's got a 4-speed gearbox, which is the main thing I'm trying to get used to at the moment, and it revs to 12,500 RPM. Whoa! So it's getting to know the characteristics of this engine, to know how it works. But and this thing looks so Italian.
And obviously, as you can see, the styling was pretty flamboyant for a motocross machine. The MXV truly was a radical bike back in the day, and it still is to this day. So how does it ride? Well, to help me test this thoroughbred Italian Stallion, I've actually drafted in our own top-tier Italian jockey in Sean Smith. Both Sean and I will ride the bike today, and a little later on, Sean will see how this thing compares to our very special Big Bore 2-stroke. That's all to come, but let's hit the track. So we're at Ashdown Farm today. It's a track, we're in Oxfordshire. We've never actually been here before, we've never filmed here before, but this track has been around for 40 odd years. There's this wooded section on the top of the hill, but on the other side there in the valley, I've not ridden a track like that in a long time. Big steep uphills and downhills, quite choppy, bumpy up there. And there's that big boot ascender in the middle that's been loads of viral videos from people just sending it up the big main hill and launching out into the woods. So that is Sean's job now. So we both had a ride on this Italian Stallion, the Aprilia MXV450. It's fair to say Sean did way more laps than I did, so most of this review is going to come from Sean, but my first impressions of the bike, I've never ridden anything like it. Same for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we haven't.
Not many people have.
No.
It sounds weird, it feels weird on track, and it took me, well, I'd say I didn't get used to it.
No.
Like, I couldn't get my head around the revs and the sound and how you're supposed to ride it. But you, after half a session, you look way comfortable on it.
Yeah, I gelled with it straight away. There was just a few things really, do you know what I mean, that sort of hindered, you know, how I would feel comfortable on it. Things like the brake, the front brake, you can't actually adjust it at all. You can't put it anywhere because the banjo literally hits the handlebar. So you can't move it down the bar, you can't twist it, you can't do anything with it, so it is a fixed place.
It's a very weird design.
Yeah, very weird.
choice.
And the same with the clutch, you can't get, you know, the perch, you can't get it far enough down the bar.
Because you're very particular how you want your
yeah,
cockpit set up, aren't you?
Yeah, and I can't get it far enough down to where I'm comfortable. But, you know, I adapted to it and it was fine. And then the foot pegs, like, I think they really let it down. Because I don't know if you can see on camera, but they're just such a weird angle.
Kind of like
and they
tilted a little bit
forward, and they're not very
quite
sharp and short. And
they're quite old school, really, aren't they? Quite thin, especially compared to the modern, the modern wide foot pegs, sharp foot pegs.
Yeah,
they're more like what you'd see on a 90s bike, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and you got a bit of moisture on there, like, you know, there's a couple of little puddles in the woods and that. You got a bit of moisture on the pegs. That was it. Your feet were slipping all over the place. Yeah, but apart from that, out of this world.
You was really impressed, weren't you? Impressed.
I loved every second of riding this bike. It was just amazing.
So that motor then, you got your head around it, and because it's got 12,500 RPM. That's the limit on it. So there's a lot you can use, and I know when I came off the track, I was like, I wasn't using it properly. But you was giving it some beans and really using that.
It revs hard. It's a 4-speed box, and you can switch between the gears. It isn't, you know, most 450s modern day, you know, you tend to be like, I've always said it, you know, third gear slogger, slog it everywhere in third gear. This, no, you're up and down the box. It was just lively, and even though lifting it up off the stand and everything like it felt heavy, riding it doesn't feel heavy.
Well, that's maybe because the centre of gravity, right? So the fuel tank, we're not even quite sure where it is. It's in there somewhere, isn't it? But we don't really know. The air filter's up there, or the airbox is up there, but the tank's down there, and all the weight's kind of down here in the middle.
Yeah, which made it feel like honestly, you could turn it on a dime.
Yeah.
I just felt incredibly comfortable on it for I mean, we think it's a 2010.
Yeah, it's hard to know with these things because they were all the same.
Yeah, but judging by the tyres, because of the dot number on the tyres,
14-year-old tyres,
is 09, so we're guessing that the bike is probably 2010. But you know, I love the way that you could just get as far forward as you want. There was nothing stopping you. You could slide.
See, I missed that when I rode the Cannondale the other week. I quite liked that the tank was big up there, and you could like get, and you know you're as far forward as you can get into the corners. Whereas this, you could sit up there if you weren't too careful.
It was designed by Italians, so you know what I mean. It's got to be good, isn't it? It's that simple. That's how I look at it.
Most of the day, 99.9% of the day, in the soft map setting there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even try it, but you tried, you switched it to the hard and you scared yourself, right? It's called the screamer mode, I think, and you screamed.
Well, pretty much, yeah. And it was in the valley, and I thought, we'll just try that. And I thought, no, I'm not trying that. And I turned it back straight away.
It's actually quite funny. This track, Ashdown, we've never been here before, but to test ride this bike, which was probably developed in northern Italy on tracks like that, it's quite fortunate.
Yeah. It worked well. I mean, when I first jumped on it, the suspension was all over the place, and you know, you could feel that. But you know, a few adjustments and stuff. We didn't really have much time to set it up. I didn't really understand that sack shock, how it works. I think the big dial is for the high speed compression, but I'm not sure. But yeah, we had a little tweak and got it a lot better. But I think if I spent more time riding it and tweaking it, you know, I'd get it, you know, real good. I think you would. Yeah,
you definitely came in every time with a big smile on your face.
It's just such a joy to ride. At club level, I think if you turned up on one of these back then,
you'd have been up. Yeah. I mean, it's fast.
Yeah.
Reportedly 60 horsepower back in the day. It was hard to say like just how quick it was, but unlike the Cannondale, which when I rode, you could instantly tell it didn't have any top end. It was pretty gutless, and you could just ride the wheels off it. Yeah. This wasn't like that. It lacked something off the bottom. Like when you pulled away out of the pits, I thought, where is it? But then, quite quickly. The mid was there quickly, and then all the way to the top it was
I think
strong.
With it was so trackable. I mean, on a track like that, you know, it's hard packed blue groove, it's bumpy. It just tracked really, really well. Even though it's got that much horsepower, it wasn't lively. It just seemed to put the power all the way down on the ground all the time. It didn't really step out, or do you know, it didn't.
Yeah,
really
no, I
do
didn't see you
anything.
step out on this.
It just felt in control all the time, apart from when you put it in the screamer mode.
A couple of other little weird things, like the kill switch was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Press the button there, and you think, oh, it's not working, because it revs it up, and then cuts it out. But it did work.
Yeah.
The kickstart is in a weird position, as you can see there. But to be fair, starting it wasn't that difficult. There's, I think, a slight technique to it that we hadn't quite grasped properly. Yeah. But I said to John earlier, when I did a kick, I was like, it's going to go next time. You could tell. Yeah. Like the weird bikes that I've ridden before and that you see online, the thing that let them down back in the day was probably reliability, right? That's what people complained about when you read the forums. But we didn't have any problems with this today.
We've ridden this all day, apart from running out of fuel.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The only thing that we had was you ran out of gas.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest tank, is it?
No, I don't know, because
you haven't done a moto.
No, I don't know where it goes. I mean, I guess it's in this area here somewhere, but it can't go too far because the exhaust is here.
Yeah.
So the exhaust is that bit. So the tank, it must hold 7 or 8 litres. But I think with it being a V-twin, it's like, as John said, it's 2 engines. He said it's sucking twice as much fuel.
Yeah, it's thirsty girl.
Yeah, it's just a work of art, isn't it? I mean, look at the size of the hubs. Such a shame that there wasn't more in production and there's more of these available, because if there was, I'd certainly have one. I would have one of these in my garage. But John's kindly says I can ride it any time and race it. Just one more bit, because, I mean, you're not going to see it on camera, but it has the sexiest back end in the world, doesn't it?
No, I tried to show that earlier.
Honestly, it's like
Italian rear end. Okay, so you did plenty of laps on this, and of course we put a clock on you. Yeah. And we also had in the van the YZilla 500. We thought it'd be rude to come to Ashdown and not bring a 500 two-stroke to hear riff up that hill. Let's have a quick look at what you look like on the YZilla. Then Phil will give us the lap times, and then we'll go a full lap on this and have a look at lap time on this.
We will see.
Before we take a look at lap times, let's just discuss what the hell happened to the MXV, where it disappeared to, and why you've probably never seen one in person. If you take a look at Grand Prix results from the end of the 2000s, you'll see that Aprilia competed on the world stage from 2007 to 2011. But the height of Aprilia's motocross Grand Prix stint most definitely occurred in 2010, when they signed multi-time vice world champion and Kiwi superstar Josh Coppins. Although Coppins was coming into the twilight of his career at the time, he was still a big name in the sport and more than capable of racing at the sharp end. Coming into the season, the Kiwi was quoted as saying that he wanted to become the first rider to win a GP on a twin-cylinder machine. Now, that might have been a little ambitious and perhaps just a bit of pre-season posturing from Coppins, but it's safe to say they had some lofty goals. The 2010 season didn't start so great for Coppins, with a bunch of DNS through the first few races. But by the end of the season, Coppins was banging in some great results, with a string of top 10 finishes to end out the year. When all was said and done, Josh Coppins and the Aprilia MXV450 finished 12th overall in the 2010 MX1 World Championship. After that, Coppins would sail off into retirement and the Aprilia factory team would not return to the GP paddock. Although we did see the JK Racing team run Aprilia's one more time in 2011. So what happened? Where did they go? It's hard to work that out exactly because there's so little information available on the MXV. It actually made researching this video quite difficult. It seems as though Aprilia lost interest in the off-road world again, and the MXV450 just fizzled out of existence. Now, I can't imagine that Aprilia sold many of these bikes. I've only seen 2 in my entire life, and I've been searching them out. So, the financial aspect of manufacturing this bike and running a Grand Prix team surely couldn't have made much sense. But saying that, I don't think that many of these machines were made in the first place. I tried to find some concrete evidence and harder numbers, but I've heard that they only manufactured these bikes in the hundreds. but maybe one of you guys watching could correct me if I'm wrong. But that does bring me onto the headline statement that I started this video with. The Aprilia MXV450 was banned by the AMA. Can that really be true? Well, let me try to explain. So, the AMA does have a homologation rule, which means that at least 400 bikes need to be manufactured and sold in the US for the machine to be eligible to race in pro motocross or supercross. That's why we don't see super rare, exotic, factory or prototype machines racing in America. So maybe Aprilia didn't meet those homologation rules. But like I said, it's difficult to find the numbers and work out exactly how many bikes were made available in the US. Although I don't think that's the end of the story here, and I don't think that's the only reason that we never saw an MXV450 race in AMA Pro Motocross. But it does explain why we did see them race on the Grand Prix stage. The MXGPs do not have any homologation rules, which means you can race super rare, super exotic factory machines like the MXV450. But the Motocross Grand Prix did have a stipulation that ruled out the use of twin-cylinder motorcycles. That rule came into effect in 1981 when Italian brand Gilera and Honda both unveiled twin-cylinder 125 machines that were both deemed cheater bikes. But obviously that twin-cylinder rule was changed to allow Aprilia to compete in the MX1 World Championship. Over in America, however, the exact opposite was happening. I found this thread on an Aprilia forum which discusses AMA rule changes for 2006. As you can see, Proposal 3 states that all motorcycles must be powered by single-cylinder engines. Essentially, this would ban the Aprilia MXV450 from pro supercross and motocross. The MXV was already on the horizon in 2006/2007, with it coming to market in 2009. The supermoto bike was already making waves in 2006, with some world championships to its name. So this rule change does appear to be a direct reaction to the introduction of the Aprilia twin-cylinder machines. They said that this rule was proposed to keep the costs of equipment and maintenance down to a tolerable level. But was it really put in place to save the big five manufacturers the hassle of having to develop their own twin-cylinder platforms? I guess we'll never truly know. But what we do know is that the AMA did in fact ban the Aprilia MXV450 from pro-level competition. Perhaps that lack of US exposure is one of the reasons why the Aprilia MXV450 fizzled away like it did. But I think it was a real shame. Josh Coppins rode the bike to some decent success in Europe, and he was even quoted as saying that the MXV450 was the fastest dirt bike he'd ever ridden. But I think we should put that statement to the test. Let's do some hot laps. We'll have the time on the Whitezilla first, please. We've just seen what Sean looked like out there on that. So we've had the crossbox state logger on again. Really changed the game with our accuracy, isn't it? Okay, so your fastest lap on the Whitezilla, a 2:18.83. Now let's get on board this, send you out for a flyer, and see how we do.
So as Sean passes the halfway mark of the lap now, he's coming towards the end of this hot lap on board the Aprilia MXV450. I just want to take this time to tell you guys all about our awesome sponsors, Putoline. Videos just like this one wouldn't be possible on our channel without their help. We use Putoline MX9 two-stroke oil in all of our bikes like the Y-Zilla, Kong and the Megalodon. They've also got a whole range of products to keep care of your dirt bike, like the Dirt Bike Super Cleaner Pro, which we use all the time, and the DX11 chain spray, which again we use after every single ride. Now here comes Sean powering up the hill for the final time today on the Aprilia MXV450. He crosses the line. Let's find out what the lap time is.
We've done 3 fast laps.
3 fast laps on this.
Yeah. And the fastest lap was a 2-minute 16.7.
Oh, no way! No way!
So the fastest lap on the MXV
that's
450,
nuts.
a 2:16 point what?
7.9.
No way! I felt
2 seconds quicker.
I felt faster on the YZ.
2.1 seconds quicker.
Honestly, I felt.
Jesus.
Didn't I come in? I said that I'm faster on that.
Yeah. He did come in straight away and say, I'm faster on this.
Yeah.
On the
On the
Y-Zilla.
YZ. I can't believe that. I told you I could race it.
I mean, you know,
Data doesn't lie.
yeah.
It was super interesting watching back the side-by-side comparison on the Crossbox app. By doing that, we could see that the bikes were fairly even in the woods, actually, where there was more grip. As soon as they got out into the valley where it was dry, dusty and blue groove, that is where the Aprilia MXV450 made up all its time. Like I said at the start of the video, we are currently living in really interesting times in the dirt bike world. We are actually seeing new brands join the motocross scene. So it was super interesting to find out what happened the last time a road racing giant joined us. I also really enjoy riding and reviewing these weird and wonderful machines. But what else is out there? Let me know in the comments down below what you think we should ride next. And even better, if you've got a bizarre bike of your own, drop me a message on Instagram at 1MinuteMoto. One of the bikes on my hit list is the Cristini all-wheel drive dirt bike. Or for that matter, any 2-wheel drive dirt bike would be awesome. Like I said, drop me a message on Instagram at 1MinuteMoto if you've got one of those in your garage. If I'm giving some excuses to my bike, it's tight and twisty in the woods. And we both said this morning,
Yeah.
wouldn't want to ride the 500 through here.
In all fairness, these domino grips that are on here absolutely destroyed my hands.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got on the YZ, I was feeling a little bit tender, but I still put in 110%. And I did think I felt faster on that, honestly. I felt faster on that. So, but to be 2 seconds quicker on this is just like, that's a shocker, isn't it?
That is a
It's
shocker.
Italian Stallion.
But- and on that
Bellissimo.
and on that bombshell, big thanks to John for lending us his ride for the day. As Phil said, we've got this little sticker down here. You see those on Ferraris, and if Ferraris made motorbikes, this could be it.
Yeah.
It's exotic, it's good looking, it's different.
It's just unreal.
Might be a little bit expensive back in the day, perhaps, but obviously it's a pretty damn good motorcycle.
Yeah, amazing.
My name is Max, that's Sean. You've been watching 999 Laser. Until next time, we'll see you at the track.